The Mississippi by Lafcadio Hearn. I once thought, when sailing up the Ohio one bright northern summer, that the world held nothing more beautiful than the scenery of the beautiful river. Those voluptuous hills with their sweet feminine curves, the elfin gold of that summer haze, and the pale emerald of the river's verdure reflecting breast. But even the loveliness of the Ohio seemed faded, and the northern sky blew palely cold, like the tint of iceberg pinnacles, when I beheld for the first time the splendor of the Mississippi. "You must come on deck early tomorrow," said the kind captain of the Thompson Dean. "We are entering the sugar country." So I saw the sun rise over the cane fields of Louisiana. It rose with a splendor that recalled the manner of its setting at Memphis, but of another color. An auroral flush of pale gold and pale green bloomed over the long fringe of cottonwood and cypress trees, and broadened and lengthened halfway around the brightening world. The glow seemed tropical, with the deep green of the trees sharply cutting against it, and one naturally looked for the feathery crests of coconut palms. Then the day broke gently and slowly, a day too vast for a rapid dawn, a day that seemed deep as space. I thought our northern sky narrow and cramped as a vaulted church roof beside that sky, a sky so softly beautiful, so purely clear in its immensity, that it made one dream of the tenderness of a woman's eyes made infinite. And the giant river broadened to a mile, smooth as a mirror, still and profound as a mountain lake. Between the vastness of the sky and the vastness of the stream, we seemed moving suspended in the midst of day, with only a long, narrow tongue of land on either side breaking the brightness. Yet the horizon never became wholly blue. The green golden glow lived there all through the day. It was brightest in the south. It was so tropical, that glow. It seemed of the Pacific, a glow that forms a background to the sight of lagoons and coral reefs and lands where it is always afternoon. Below this glow gleamed another golden green, the glory of the waving cane fields beyond the trees. Huge sugar mills were breathing white and black clouds into the sky as they masticated their mighty mail, and the smell of saccharine sweetness floated to us from either shore. Then we glided by miles of cotton fields with their fluttering white balls, and by the mouths of broad bayous, past swamps dark with cypress gloom, where the gray alligator dwells, and the gray Spanish moss hangs in elfish festoons from ancient trees, past orange trees and live oaks, pecans and cottonwoods, and broad-leafed bananas, while the green of the landscape ever varied, from a green so dark that it seemed tinged with blue, to an emerald so bright that it seemed shot through with gold. The magnificent old mansions of the southern planters, built after a generous fashion unknown in the north, with broad verandas and deliciously cool porches, and all painted white or perhaps a pale yellow, looked out grandly across the water from the hearts of shadowy groves, and, like villages of 100 cottages, the Negro quarters dotted the verdant face of the plantation with far gleaming points of snowy whiteness. And still that wondrous glow brightened in the south, like a far-off reflection of sunlight on the Spanish Main. "But it does not look now as it used to in the old slave days," said the pilot as he turned the great wheel. The swamps were drained and the plantations were not overgrown with cottonwood. And somehow or other, the banks used to cave in then as they do now. I saw indeed signs of sad ruin on the face of the great plantations. There were splendid houses crumbling to decay, and whole towns of tenantless cabins. Estates of immense extent were lying almost untilled, or with only a few acres under cultivation. And the vigorous cottonwood trees had shot up in whole forests over fields once made fertile by the labor of 10,000 slaves. The scene was not without its melancholy. It seemed tinged by the reflection of a glory passed away, the glory of wealth and the magnificence of wealth, of riches and the luxury of riches. O fair paradise of the South, if still so lovely in thy ruin, what must thou have been in the great day of thy greatest glory? White steamboats, heavily panting under their loads of cotton, came toiling by and called out to us wild, greeting long and shrill, until the pilot opened the lips of our giant boat, and her mighty challenge awoke 1,000 phantom voices along the winding shore. Red sank the sun in a sea of fire, and bronze-hued clouds piled up against the light like fairy islands in a sea of glory, such as were seen, perhaps, by the adelantado of the 7 cities. Those are not real clouds, said the pilot, turning to the west, his face aglow with the yellow light. Those are only smoke clouds rising from the sugar mills of Louisiana and drifting with the evening wind. The daylight died away and the stars came out, but that warm glow in the southern horizon only paled so that it seemed a little farther off. The river broadened till it looked with the tropical verdure of its banks like the Ganges, until at last there loomed up a vast line of shadows, dotted with points of light, and through a forest of masts and hosts of phantom white riverboats and a wilderness of chimneys, the Thompson Dean, singing her cherry challenge, steamed up to the mighty levee of New Orleans. And that was the Mississippi by Lafcadio Hearn. Thank you for listening.